What's up, guys? Your boy, 20K13. Gonna talk about 10 reasons for WWE rating plummet, and this comes from WhatCulture.com. This past week edition of Monday Night Raw was the highest rated episode since June 2015 for WWE, pulling in close to 4 million viewers on average across the 3 hours of programming. The company must be pleased with the larger number of viewers. However, the fact this is not a regular occurrence for the promotion right now shows that there are big problems. Arguably, TV ratings don't mean quite as much to Vince McMahon as they used to. WWE don't have the same competition they faced from WCW in the late 90s, so the same pressure isn't there to pop massive ratings. On the surface, that's true, but it doesn't tell the full story. WWE still want high ratings because they see themselves in competition with virtually every other show airing in a primetime slot on Monday night. Steen is being credited for the raw ride, at least by wrestling fans online. It's been noted that WWE also announced more matches in advance before the show went on the air, which could have enticed fans to tune in. Whatever the case, Monday ratings look set to be higher than normal, which is worrying for the company. This article aims to explore exactly why ratings have been down in WWE across the board, giving 10 possible reasons for the rating plummet in 2015. Simply put, just why our wrestling enthusiasts not as excited by WWE flagship show as they used to be. Number 10. Raw is too damn long. The most common complaint regarding Monday Night Raw is that it's simply too long for most fans. In the modern age, expecting a viewer to sit and be engaged for a full 3 hour program is very unrealistic. Occur any number of wrestling-related forums online, and this is the most prevalent reason many people have been turned off the flagship show. So why is it so far down on this list? Firstly, while show length does come into things, it's not a problem when the program in question is gripping. WCW experienced the same problem as WWE back in the 90s. Adding a third hour to Night Show in early 1998, the company didn't make full use of the extra 60 minutes, using the first hour as almost a preview of the following one. Secondly, that's a trap WWE have very much fallen into, and is hurting Raw. Things are spread so thinly across the show sometimes that part of it becomes lifeless. If the promotion wants Monday Night Raw to run successfully for 3-4 hours, there needs to be more of a reason for people to feel it worthwhile. Number 9. Technology allows fans to skip through programming. This is actually a common complaint coming from WWE side. In today's world, not everybody has the time to sit down and watch a show live. TV scheduling isn't what it used to be because there are so many other options. On-demand programming is very much the rule. Viewers enjoy the freedom to watch shows when they choose, not when their television tells them to. The problem is when someone tapes a show through Sky Plus or TiVo, it's not logged as a live viewing. This WWE lose that body for their overall rating, which is clearly not ideal for the company. In addition to that popular method of watching the show, people can now fast forward through portions of the show that they don't want to watch. On one level, there's nothing that wrong with this. Wrestling fans should be able to watch the character and matches they favor. That said, people have noted online that they watch approximately less than 1 full hour of the 180-minute Raw program. That's far from encouraging and not exactly conducive to bringing viewers back the next week. Number 8. Fans are turned off by social media and advertising overload. As aforementioned, WWE regularly fills their programming with a lot of unnecessary fluff. As years have progressed, there has been a real factor connected to talk up the importance of social media on shows, include fans on what's trending on Twitter. Nobody can blame WWE for wanting to big up their product, but the constant reminder of social media trend does come off as a little desperate from time to time. Legendary announcer Jim Ross has gone on record as saying Michael Cole had a harder job than he ever did behind the commentary desk. What Ross means by this is that Cole is expected to direct the flow of verbiage on the show, but also do a hell of a lot of advertising for the company at the same time. That can't be easy because Michael had to get through so much information across each broadcast. In the opinion of some fans, this detracts from the actual product itself. Instead of letting people know what Roman Reigns vs. Brock Lesnar is trending on Twitter, for example, many people would prefer it if the announcer were calling the action actually going on in the ring. Number 7. WWE Network crashes wrestling itch for many. Just how much professional wrestling can the individual fan watch? The WWE Network has been a brilliant service for those who want to entrench themselves in nostalgia, and the sheer wealth of content available on the network is impressive. However, just how negative an impact has the service had on WWE ratings overall? For the vast majority of older fans, they prefer the way things used to be in the company. That means that the network will be their first port of call to scratch their wrestling itch. This makes Monday Night Raw, SmackDown, and other WWE programming largely unnecessary. If fans aren't keen on what the promotion presents now, they're not likely to watch it ahead of an inexhaustible supply of classic events. For the first-time buyer, the first month of the WWE Network is completely free. A lot of regular WWE programming is also available free of charge, but the problem stems largely from the fact that it's struggling to grip the core audience. For example, why would fans sit and watch Raw for 3 hours when they can simply tune into older pay-per-views that make them feel good on the network? Plugging the gap with older events become easy, making Raw inessential. Number 6. Even WWE treats SmackDown as secondary. When SmackDown first debuted in 1999, it replaced Sunday Night Heat as the then WWF secondary program. Raw was still the flagship, but SmackDown offered another crucial slice of product for fans. The main problem with the show nowadays is that it doesn't really have much purpose, and even WWE themselves have picked up on that fact. In '99, the wrestling world was very different. The WWF was a very hot product in general, and there was a demand for more content. In 2015, can the same really be said, given that Monday Night Raw is 3 hours long, and there are countless hours on the WWE Network available, where the real need for SmackDown on the line up? Far too often, SmackDown is little more than a Raw rerun. Even when the show has changed channel and WWE have promised to freshen it up, it still fits into that mold eventually. How can WWE management expect fans to be enthused about a program they treat with such passive interest? There is no real need for all but the most hardcore fans to tune into SmackDown. Number 5. Raw followed the same format weekly. Even if Monday Night Raw was thrilling people, there's only so much of the same formula that people can stomach before they inevitably start turning off. For years now, Raw had effectively followed the exact same blueprint time and time again, and that's something that needs to change. For example, was the need to open the show with a lengthy promo or showdown every single week? There's something wrong with the fact that it feels abnormal when WWE choose to open Raw and SmackDown with an actual wrestling match. Variety is key here. There needs to be way more of it. All too often programs feel predictable. Every wrestling fan has experienced the familiar format. The show opened with much celebration before a big star inevitably make their way down to the ring to discuss an issue that been plaguing them. From there, a rival makes their presence felt, and a match is made involving at least one of them for later in the show. There's nothing wrong with that formula, aside from the fact it's happening all the time. Number 4. Too many WWE alternatives available. A combination of all of the factors discussed here has led many fans to look outside of the WWE bubble for their wrestling fix. There are just so many different options. WWE doesn't do absolutely don't do absolutely everything right when it comes to those massive pay-per-view moments featuring stars such as John Cena or The Undertaker. You can only see them in WWE, but there are other companies who offer different things. The kind of high-flying, flashy matches displayed in Lucha Underground are what help that promotion stand out. Grappling fans are unlikely to see the same thing when they tune into Raw, and companies such as Lucha Underground and others don't seem as tired a concept as Monday Night Raw. Ring of Honor, for example, give a different flavor. Even internally, there are shows that make Raw look adequate by the design. WWE owned NXT show is an action-packed program, one that's easy to digest for even the most casual of fans. The stories are simple, and the characters are interesting, and the matches are eye-catching. Why stick through Raw or SmackDown when there are other brands impressing much more freely? Number three, over reliance on older stars. In a perfect world, WWE would be able to harness a flawless balance between the old and new. That hasn't exactly happened, however. There's still an over reliance on major names who have been kicking around for years. Characters like The Big Show, Triple H, and Kane all have valid reasons for being involved, but all too often they dominate shows, which is very uninspiring. Looking back to when these characters crashed onto the scene, they were fresh and new. The Big Show had turned from heel to babyface and vice versa, so many times that it's hard for fans to really care about what the big man will do next. Everyone has a shelf life on top, especially when there's such a limited number of spots available. Brock Lesnar versus The Undertaker at SummerSlam was quite the spectacle and a big draw for the company. That in mind, it was still a match between a pair of performers who aren't there at every single show for WWE. Talk of having a third encounter at WrestleMania are worrying because it represents a lack of upward mobility for younger names on the roster. Number two, failure to prepare new headliners effectively. Extending the previous point, the likes of Bray Wyatt, Roman Reigns, and Dean Ambrose aren't present as being on the same level as Lesnar or Undertaker. That's a problem because those men are one WWE would dearly love to become established main event stars. The trouble is not with how these performances are perceived by the audience. Summarizing Vince McMahon's point on the Steve Austin podcast earlier this year, the boss is under the impression that some of his fledgling young stars are struggling to connect to the fans, while there's some merit to those claims. The real reason is because they've been shyly handled by WWE. If the company had treated the likes of The Rock, Triple H, and Mick Foley the way they have Wyatt, Reigns, and Ambrose, things could have been very different. Reigns was cruelly squeezed into the awkward role of becoming John Cena-like. Wyatt's momentum is all over the place, and the promotion don't seem convinced by Dean Ambrose full stop. Something needs to be done about this because this combination of old stars dominating and new stars floundering is causing people to tune out. And number one, Raw isn't unmissable for many anymore. When was the last truly can't miss episode of Monday Night Raw or any non-pay-per-view WWE programming? Stop and think about that for a second because it's genuinely difficult to ascertain. The Attitude Era wasn't always perfect, but at least fans were guaranteed something memorable to take away from their viewing experience. The current WWE formula of trying to create cliffhangers at the end of broadcasts is woefully inept. The main reason it's so tired is because they're simply not doing it correctly. When Steve Austin was locked in a vicious feud opposite Vince McMahon, there was always something at the end of broadcast to make fans want to tune into the next. That's how cliffhangers should be handled. It wasn't uncommon for Jim Ross to be heard screaming as the program went off the air, wondering what the heck could possibly happen next week. It was exciting. and there's not enough of it nowadays. Wrestling fans could miss multiple weeks of entire WWE show without really missing many major plot points that need to be addressed because it makes shows entirely easy to miss. Well, that is, guys. Like, comment, subscribe. See you guys on the next one. Peace.